Senator from Oklahoma.
I'd ask that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Objection is so ordered.
Thank you. I was going to spend a few minutes talking about an amendment that I have, number 3358, which has already been pending. But I think first it's important for us to note, last year we borrowed $4 billion a day in this country. 43 cents out of every dollar that the country spent at the federal level was borrowed. And what does that mean? What that means is that over the next 10 years, we're going to be paying $4.5 trillion in interest on the additional $9.8 trillion that we're projected to spend that we don't have. And it was less than 3 weeks ago that this body passed a statute. And here's what the statute said, is that if you don't have the money to spend, then you had to cut something if you were going to spend new money. And as of last night, in the 3 weeks since we passed that bill, this body has said, that doesn't count, time out, we're going to spend $120 billion over the next 10 years, but we're not going to pay for it. And that's why when that bill came through to tell America that we were going to finally get some fiscal discipline, we, as a minority, voted against it because we knew it wasn't true. Matter of fact, one of our newer members wanted to vote for it, as I had in the past when I first got here, because I believed what it meant was real. And the fact is the PAYGO rules are a ruse. PAYGO really means American people, you pay and we'll go spend it. And even more than that, what you don't pay, we'll go spend anyhow, and we'll charge it to your children and your grandchildren. So what this amendment that I'm proposing be a part of this tax extender's plan would require three things. It would require the Secretary of the Senate to post on the website the following three things: the total amount of spending, both discretionary and mandatory, passed by the Senate that has not been paid for. We have this big hullabaloo, say we're going to pay for it, and then as soon as the hard choices come of getting rid of something that's lower priority, we won't do it. We just charge it on the credit card. So this amendment would require us to post on our website all the spending that we're doing that wasn't paid for. In other words, we're not going to tell America one thing and do another without at least them being transparent and knowing that we're complicit in not following the own law that we passed that said you have to do this. The second thing it would require is the total amount of spending authorized in new legislation as scored by the CBO. Because what happens up here routinely, and what I have been rejected on the last 5.5 years, is that if you want to start a new program that is well intended to help people, one of the things we ought to do is get rid of the ones that aren't helping people, the ones that aren't efficient, the ones that are a lower priority. In other words, we ought to have to do what every American family's been doing for the last 2 or 3 years as we've gone through this economic constriction, is they make hard choices. They put priorities on things. And the fact that we're going to have $120 billion inside of 3 weeks that we refuse to prioritize. We're just going to spend another $120 billion. And then finally, the third component of what I'm asking for in this amendment is for us to put on the Senate website any new government programs that we create. What are the new programs that we create? What that is transparency. So what this amendment is about, it's not a gimmick. It's not try to make people look bad. It is to try to make sure that the American people know what we're doing and can see what we're doing. It is also to make sure the American people know that we say one thing and then do another. And if in fact it's available to the American people that the Senate has passed $120 billion worth of unpaid for programs that we in fact directly charge to the next 2 generations, after we have passed a PAYGO rule saying we will never do this, it's about credibility. It's about character. It's about honor. It's about fessing up if you don't have the courage to make hard choices. So it's very simple. Some of my colleagues think it's a gimmick. I don't think it's a gimmick. It's about being transparent with the truth about our lack of courage to make hard choices. And ultimately, what's going to happen is the world financial system is going to force us into making hard choices. We all know that's coming. We're going to have a $1.6 trillion deficit this year. We're going to be at 45 cents out of every dollar that we spend, we're going to borrow against our children. When does it stop? When do we start making the difficult choices that we were sent up here to make? So my hope is that my colleagues will support this amendment, that we will in fact be honest and transparent with the American people about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we don't even follow our own rules. There's a Senate rule on PAYGO, budget rule, but now there's a statute. And what we've done is we've just conveniently voted in the Senate that time out, we're not going to honor the statute, we're not going to make the hard choices, and we're going to go on and spend the future of the generations that follow us. With that, I yield the floor.